There's a few books over here in Europe, Teddy, William Hill among them. They're posting out Jake Paul minus 125. This line is really all over the place. It's not even listed at some of the books like DraftKings, FanDuel, and so on. So, shop
I'm seeing
around. You
William
will
Hill
get
right
that
now at
price.
minus 195.
In Europe now, I can only say that I bet this line at Europe earlier today. So it's still available at minus 125 over there. But yeah, look, whichever way you're going to bet this, I like Jake Paul in this fight. Obviously, not the strongest weekend in boxing we've ever seen. But yeah, look, it's going to bring a lot of eyeballs. People are interested in this fight, and it's a big weekend for Jake Paul in this one as well. Mauricio Suleiman in the WBC said he'll put Jake Paul straight into the rankings should he get the victory on Sunday. Potentially line him up for there's some real killers in this cruiserweight division. Jay Opataya, Lawrence Okoli, and even former undisputed champion at this weight class, Maris Briedis. He was so desperate for the Jake Paul fight, he actually got a tattoo of Jake Paul on his arm to tempt him in. So, there's plenty of options out there for Jake Paul right now after this fight. Should he win, first of all, and should he want to get serious in the sport of boxing? But in terms of this one, he's fighting a guy in Tommy Fury who definitely has the name recognition. He's being Tyson Fury's half brother, obviously, but very little apart from that. Tommy Fury's combined opponent record over his 8 fights so far come in an absolutely embarrassing 24 and 176. And half of his 8 opponents have never even had a professional win in their boxing career so far. So to say Jake Paul is finally facing a boxer is a bit of a ludicrous statement. Tommy Fury's fought absolutely nobody over his career so far. He spent more time filming Love Island over in the UK than he has fighting professionally. And, while Jake Paul perhaps does need to be careful about potentially stepping in too far with boxing, he can't get too carried away, obviously, by beating faded MMA stars and YouTubers. He can actually box. He's got good foot movement. He's got a great overhand right. He's got a decent uppercut as well. One of the reasons I would fear for him against like a proper opponent, is that propensity is to dip too low in fights, against the fighter who knows what they're doing in there. Canelo, for instance, a guy he's continuously called out over recent years. You would expect Canelo to decapitate him in there. But, plenty for Jake Paul to work on, obviously, moving forward. But thankfully for Jake, Tommy Fury's about as far from Canelo as I am from Conor McGregor, to be honest. So I'd be surprised if Jake Paul loses this fight, to be honest. Tommy Fury's clearly a hand-picked opponent at the end of the day. He's chosen because of that name recognition that he brings. And as I said, shop around. I got it at minus 125. Now, whether the Europe's hanging out cheaper numbers, but I like Jake Paul in this fight to win straight up. And I'm happy enough taking that price, or even anything up to minus 170 actually over in Riyadh this weekend.